Hey guys, TommyBryson here, and honestly, I've been investing for over 5 years now, and after 5 years, I've lost the intimidation factor that investing once had on me. You know, it's kind of like, for example, when you do something for the first time and you're scared, but after doing it for so long, you're like, oh, I had nothing to worry about. It's like falling in love for the first time with your crush, right? The first time you see your crush, you're like, panicking, panicking, panicking. But after 3 years to 5 years of being with them, boyfriend, husband, wife, whatever it is, you're like, oh, why was I scared? This person right here is awesome. And it's the same thing with investing, right? Because you might be afraid of, hey, what if I lose all my money? What do I invest into? I don't know anything about this stuff. How much money should I actually make? All these are very important questions. So in this video right here, I'll tell you exactly how I invest my money and how I've managed to invest over $300,000 into my portfolio automatically to make me passive income. In this video, I'm going to break everything down. And again, don't be afraid. It's a part of the game to not know how things work, to be worried, that's fine. But once you know it and you do it, you'll be like, oh, well, that's pretty simple. Why was I scared? And by the way, if you're new here, then you see my face for the first time. It's not my normal face. If you're old here, guys, I accidentally shaved my beard off and now I'm left with this mustache, okay? So I don't want to hear about it in the comments down below. No jokes. Please, I'm just kidding. Do whatever you want to do, okay, guys? But as always, I'll be here breaking down everything, guys. As always, like this video on top of that. Also, if you're new here, subscribe and hit the bell to get notified. And let's see if we get this video all the way up to whatever the goal is in the pinned comments. I'll choose one of your comments and say, hey, that is going to be the goal. Now, the first thing is this, guys. When it comes to investing, when I first got started, I asked myself these first 3 questions. And the questions were basically, why do you want to invest? What are your expectations? And lastly, what is your goal with investing? And to answer them here, I wanted to invest. Why? Because I didn't want to be broke when I was going to retire. I wanted to actually retire with money in the bank. And I also wanted passive income. That was really my why. My expectations were never to double my money every single year, because to do that, I need to take a lot of risks, and I'm just not capable or actually wanting to actually take crazy risks. It's just not in my nature. You gotta know yourself. So I'm okay just making 8 to 12% every single year. And lastly, my goal is passive income. To have, for example, my stock market money pay for all of my expenses and me be able to use my normal regular income to buy whatever I want to buy. And I'll tell you guys a secret, okay, guys? My goal is that once I do get to that goal of mine, I want to buy a Kia Stinger. Now, I don't know if I want like an orange one, here's the picture of it, or for example, like this metallic gray color, which is awesome. By the way, this car costs around $50,000. However, once I do get to my goal, guess what? I can buy that car for cash without worrying about anything. So here's what I want you guys to do. I know everyone wants the answer. What do you invest into? How much money? Blah, 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 blah. But those are just numbers. If you don't, for example, participate, it just doesn't make sense, okay? So the main thing is, here are the questions. Comment down below. Why do you really want to invest? What are your expectations? And on top of that, what are your goals? And lastly, what's the first thing you're going to spoil yourself with? You know, if you say a Bugatti or a jet, remember, you have to be realistic. So you have to earn a certain amount of money to actually be able to buy something that costs, for example, $100 million or like $2.3 million, like a Bugatti. They cost a lot of money. So be realistic here, but have fun also. But comment down below and let me know, what's your why, expectations, and then lastly, what's your goal? Okay, comment down below, let me know. This right here is very important because as you invest, if you're part of the long-term team, it's gonna take a while. So if you don't have a why and a reason and a goal and stuff, you're gonna be like, okay, it's not working, I'm out, right? But no, you have to know exactly what you're doing. So that's why I'm saying, write these things, comment down below, make it public so we all know and we hold you accountable. Now, number 2, guys, is how I actually invest. And by the way, it's a lot more simple than you probably think it is, okay? And I could leave today, leave for 2 years, 3 years, not see my investments and be very confident in what I'm doing because I know what I'm doing. It's automated. And it's kind of like if my investments go down, it kind of means like the whole world crashed. So I don't have to worry about it whatsoever. Now, in reality, guys, the way I invest is I invest with the current, like with the water current. It's like swimming with the current, or like with a boat with the current, because basically it becomes a lot more easier to actually go down the river, right? Yes, you might have like little bumps and bruises or whatever it is along the way, but it's just a lot more easier than trying to paddle up a river against the current. It's actually almost impossible, right? It's very, very hard. However, there are three main investment methods. Number one is the people that think that they're very smart and they want to try to beat the market. I call these people, a lot of them, like around 90% of them, they want to be Warren Buffett by doing part-time Warren Buffett work. Meaning, I want the results of Warren Buffett, but I'm not willing to put in all the work that it actually takes to be some way like Warren Buffett. Now this means they go out there, they pick stocks, so they pick Teslas, they pick Bitcoin, they pick Apple, they pick Delta, like all these companies out there, they pick them. And they believe that basically, hey, I'm going to make money, I'm going to beat the market or whatever it is, right? And in reality, when you make those picks and you see Warren Buffett, for example, you have to understand that Warren Buffett spends around 8 hours every single day studying companies, okay, and doing all that work and going through thousands of balance sheets, financial statements, and all that good stuff that he loves to do. Me personally, it is not the way I invest, because me personally, I don't want to spend 8 hours reading financial statements just to make one investment, okay? It's just not my style, so it's not what I do. Now, the second way, guys, is people that think that basically they are not smart enough, so they rather entrust their money with somebody that they think is actually smart enough to go ahead and basically beat the market. These people usually go ahead and invest, for example, with mutual funds. Now, if you guys don't know what that means, very simple explanation here is a mutual fund is when you have a manager and a team of investors, and their goal is to basically try to beat the market, right? Outperform the market, make more money than the market is going to make on its own. So they grab your money, everyone's money, they invest it, they trade, they buy, they sell, all these things in hopes to beat the market. One of the most popular people to actually do this is actually Dave Ramsey. He likes doing this stuff. Me personally, I don't think it's a good idea, because statistics show that basically these people more than average do not beat the market. Now, there is one example where if you invested, for example, $10,000 in 13 years, you would have made like around $200,000. That person that did that with a fund was Peter Lynch. He was basically a legendary investor, but it is very hard to find that fund. And when you think about investing, never think I'm not smart enough, because it's not true. Like, it's not as difficult as you think it actually is. You don't need to hire someone to charge you a bunch of money and to not perform. It makes no sense, so don't do it. Again, this right here is not the way I invest. So obviously, the third way is the way I invest. Now, what I do and what the long-term team basically does is we invest with the flow, with the market, meaning we want to get exactly what the market actually makes every single year. So if the US made 8%, we want 8%. If the international market made, for example, 10%, we want 10%. We're not trying to beat it, we're just trying to keep track of it. Now, this is very easy, because what we basically do is, instead of trying to pick companies like stock pickers or trying to hire people to try to beat the market, we just buy the whole thing. And we basically get a piece of that whole thing. And that's how we make a lot of money. That is what we call, for example, index fund investors. And that is what I am. And also what John C. Bogle actually was, one of my favorite investors of all time. So far, we've heard about Warren Buffett, Peter Lynch, John C. Bogle. But John C. Bogle is literally one of my favorite investors of all time. Now, that is how I invest. So I invest in index funds, going with the stream, getting the average market return. That way, I don't have to be super smart, I have to work super hard, or try to entrust my money to other people, and they just basically keep a bunch of my money with a bunch of fees, and I basically get no results, okay? That's not what you want to do. So now that we know that, here's what I actually invest into and why I invest this way. So overall, I invest into 7 different index funds. Now, index funds, by the way, is whenever, for example, people round up their money. Yes, you have a manager, but that person just uses your money and everybody else's money to track an index. For example, if you're trying to track the American US stock market, you might invest, for example, into the S&P 500. And that basically means, hey, we're going to try to track the S&P 500. So we buy, for example, the 500 largest US companies to track the S&P 500. Usually like around 516 companies, although it doesn't really matter. But that's usually how you go ahead and track the market. Now, I have 7 different index funds. If you go on Vanguard or Fidelity or Schwab's, usually they might require $3,000 to actually get started investing into index funds. Obviously, the average person does not have that much money. It is a bunch of money. So you're actually able to go ahead and invest into ETFs. They are exchange traded funds. So that means you're actually able to buy those funds on the open market, meaning you can actually invest with a small fraction of money instead of needing, for example, $3,000. Now, how much money you say? Not 100, not 10,000, but just, for example, $10, sometimes even, for example, $1. So it becomes a lot more easier to go ahead and invest. And that's why, although I do, for example, index funds and my retirement accounts, because basically they waive a lot of those requirements, I do ETFs for my taxable accounts. So this means, Tommy, what are those investments? Well, I'm going to show you, because one of the best ways that I learned was through example. Now, the app I use, I get asked this all the time. Tommy, what app do you use? Okay, is it Robinhood? Is it Acorns? Is it what app do you use? Okay, the answer is, guys, I use an app called M1 Finance, and here it is. Okay, right now in this portfolio, I have other ones. I have around $263,000 actually invested, and again, here are my 7 ETFs that I actually invest into. And again, if I had a retirement account, I can actually invest into the index fund versions of these ETFs. The big difference is basically the index funds are traded in-house, while the ETFs are traded, for example, in the open market, which basically means also they have a lot more price fluctuations, but in reality, it doesn't really matter that much. Now, here are the ETFs. I'm going to break this down as best as I can. I invest into the S&P 500. That is the US market, into the 500 largest companies in the US. I invest around 38% because I believe a lot more in America than any other country out there. I'm just being honest. But I also invest into the international market, or as I call it, for example, the developed markets, okay? That means like Europe, China, all those places that are developed and actually competing against America. I invest around 16% of my money in there. On top of that, I invest into small cap ETFs. What is this? Small caps are basically companies. They're not that big. It's not like Apple or IBM or Tesla. No, they're smaller companies, meaning they have more potential for more growth, but they also have potential for a lot of losses. So over here, I only do around 14%. On top of that, I do treasury bonds and also corporate bonds. Now, what does this mean? Bonds are basically when you grab your money and you lend to somebody. It's a bond, right? You owe me this money. So I lend money to the government and also to corporate companies. And I do 10% to the government and 10% to corporate companies. Why? Because this is more fixed. And this way, if the market crashes, my bonds are probably going to stay around the same and I don't have to worry that much. On top of that, I also do Vanguard real estate. Now, these are actually REITs, real estate investment trusts. Now, it means, for example, a lot of people pool in money and buy hospital, commercial buildings, and all that stuff. Now, as you know, real estate and the stock market don't really relate that much. So just because the real estate market is down doesn't mean, for example, the stock market is down, vice versa. That's why I invest in here. And here, I put around 8%. And then lastly, I do VWO. This right here is actually emerging markets, and I only do around 4%. It's for markets that are just coming up. So basically means like Belize, but it's actually very high risk, right? So that's why it's only 4%. And if we guys, okay, if we just use common sense, what does this mean? If I'm investing into 7 different sectors, what does this give me? It gives me diversification. It means that, for example, if the US is not that great, the international market might actually be better. If the stock market overall is down, well, guess what? I have REITs, real estate, and I also have bonds, so I'll just be fine. So it's kind of like it gives me cover from all sides. And that's why I invest the way I invest. And I invest this money, for example, with M1 Finance. Why? Because I'm able to automate my investments. invest just with $10 to $20 and have that money split exactly how I want it to be split without having to worry about it. Now, if you guys want to use this exact portfolio, I have a link down below to Tommy Finance, and when you click it, you're able to go ahead and invest directly into it. And you also get some free money. I don't know how much, maybe like $10, like $50 or whatever it is. But remember, you're also able to open up a Roth IRA or a traditional IRA actually also in M1 Finance. Or if you have a 401k with one of your old companies, for example, you're actually able to roll that over into your M1 Finance account also. And that's pretty cool if you ask me. Am I sponsored? The answer is no. Do I like this app? The answer is yes. If they become a trash app, will I tell you? The answer is yes. But right now, they're awesome, and they're basically like the only app I actually use as far as my taxable accounts. Now, here's a question I know for sure I'm going to get, so I'm going to tell you before I end this video. Tommy, how much money do you invest, okay? And how much money should I actually invest? The answer is overall, you should invest after you become debt-free, everything except the mortgage, and you also have, for example, an emergency account. This way, if things go wrong, you have money to take care of yourself and not to have to basically sell your investments. Those are my two rules. Be debt-free, except the mortgage, and also have an emergency account, and then go ahead and invest. Now, how much to invest? I would recommend anywhere from 10 to 20% of your income, you can actually go ahead and invest. If my company gives me, for example, like a match, I'm going to go ahead and invest money to get my maximum match over at my company. The rest of my money, I'm going to invest it, for example, with M1 Finance into my retirement accounts. In this case, it might be a Roth IRA. If I max it out and have extra money, I'm going to go ahead and invest that money back into my 401k or my Roth 401k. Now, if you make a ton of money, right? Like a lot of money, which is amazing, okay? You can actually max out your Roth IRA, also your 401k, and the rest of the money you can basically put it, for example, towards your taxable account. But again, my rule is only 10 to 20%. So in order to do that, you have to be making, for example, a lot of money, like a lot of money. You know what? You guys want to know how much? I'll show you guys right now because I love math and I'm like a little nerd here. But overall, you're able to invest $6,000 into the Roth IRA every single year, and also $19,500 into the 401k. So this would mean, if you're gonna do 20%, this means you need to make somewhere around $127,000 just to be able to fully max out all your retirement accounts. The average person does not make this much money, which basically means you're able just to go ahead and invest your money, for example, into the retirement accounts, which basically benefits you even more. The rest of my money, where do I put it? I put that money towards saving up to buy my first home. Now, I have money already saved up to buy my first property, which I will be doing next year. And if God allows it, I'll be buying that property in cash. And guess what? I also have passive income coming in, which is around somewhere like around 12K per year in passive income. And that's very possible for you guys also. And this is how I invest. Why I invest this way also? Because, by the way, I don't like that much risk, and I want to make sure my money stays my money for as long as possible, and I don't want to go out there and take a bunch of risks. This portfolio is very safe. That's why I invest the way I invest. Now, is it perfect? The answer is no. If you guys remember that video I showed you earlier, you saw like as you go downstream, there are little slides and hoops, okay? It happens. So if the market crashes, usually I invest more money because I buy at a discount. If it's not crashing, I invest usually the same amount of money, okay? That's my rule. That's how I do things. Now, guys, comment down below. Do me a favor here, okay? Comment down below any questions. That is what I'm here for. Comment your questions down below, and I will try to help you as most as possible. And by the way, if you have a retirement account, for example, with Fidelity or Vanguard, whatever it is, you're able to go ahead, click the link in M1 Finance, see my portfolio, call them and ask them, hey, what are the index funds like that you actually have that actually do these exact same things as these ETFs? And they will tell you, because everything I said here is available to every single platform out there. But I just love M1 Finance and Vanguard. They're my only two platforms that I use today. On top of that, guys, if you guys like this video, it helps a lot. On top of that, also subscribe and hit the bell so you get notified. And if you guys want to call me and talk to me one-on-one, well, join me on my calls. The link is down below. Schedule a call, by the way. Calls are free, so you can talk to me for free. Link down below. On top of that, also follow me on Instagram at TommyBryson. Here's another video right here. Click my face right here. And as always, peace.